प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी और स्पेन के प्रधानमंत्री पेड्रो सांचेज संयुक्त रूप से उद्घाटन करेंगे जो C-295
The Spanish Prime Minister is in India. It's a country we don't talk about too often, not unless it's La Liga football or maybe over tourism. But this time it's hard politics. Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez landed in India earlier today. Not in New Delhi though. He landed in Gujarat's Vadodara. It's his first trip to India as Prime Minister. Also the first by a Spanish Prime Minister in 18 years. It tells you a lot about this relationship. Cordial, but nothing special. Hopefully this visit will add a bit of momentum. But why Vadodara? Because Sanchez and Prime Minister Narendra Modi had to inaugurate a factory there, the Tata Airbus aircraft plant. It is India's first such private assembly line. The production, the testing, the delivery, the repairs, all of it will be done in Vadodara, in the same Tata campus. Sort of like a one-stop location for the aircraft. And what's the connection to Spain? Well, the aircraft is called the C-295. It used to be manufactured by a Spanish defense company, but it later merged into Airbus. India has ordered 56 of these planes. 16 will be delivered from Spain. The remaining 40 will be made here in Vadodara. It's a big deal for the Indian Air Force. These planes can play multiple roles. They can carry troops, they can ferry cargo, carry out evacuations, and also the odd patrolling missions. They will replace India's aging fleet of Soviet Antonovs. The first C-295 will roll out by 2026. The remaining by 2031. It's all part of the Make in India vision for defense. New Delhi has historically been a buyer in the arms market. But Prime Minister Modi wants to change that. He wants India to become a seller. He highlighted the progress made in the last decade.
भारत में डिफेंस मैन्युफैक्चरिंग इकोसिस्टम नई ऊंचाइयां छू रहा है। 10 साल पहले अगर हमने ठोस कदम नहीं उठाए होते तो आज इस मंजिल पर पहुंचना असंभव ही था।
This factory is a big first step. It will create around 3,000 direct jobs, plus it will create a supply chain. As you know, an aircraft requires hundreds of parts and electronics. The plan is to source them from across India, from MSMEs or medium and small enterprises. That will create another 15,000 indirect jobs. So we're talking about an ambitious plan. Once this military order is done, the factory can always make other planes, maybe even civilian aircraft. After the inauguration, the focus turned to diplomacy. Prime Minister Modi and Sanchez held a road show. Hundreds of people turned up to greet the two leaders. Take a look at this. Roadshow done, it was time for talks. Prime Minister Modi hosted Sanchez at the Lakshmi Vilas Palace. Both leaders were joined by quite a large delegation. The Indian Prime Minister talked about deepening bilateral ties. Prime Minister Sanchez noted India's importance in the current geopolitical climate. This is what he said.
Excellency, buenos dias. Namaskar. उसी प्रकार आपकी इस यात्रा से हमारे संबंधों में एक नई ऊर्जा और उत्साह का संचार हुआ है। आज C-295 प्लांट के उद्घाटन के साथ साझेदारी के एक नए अध्याय की शुरुआत भी हुई है।
I am certain that this visit will strengthen our bilateral relations and will honor the weight and influence that both India and Spain have in the world. Complement each other. India plays a prominent role not only in the Indo-Pacific, but also in the wider geopolitical context.
Modi and Sanchez have a tough job to turn this relationship into a consequential one. Bilateral trade is around $10 billion. Spain makes up 7% of India's trade with Europe. Robust, but not extraordinary. So what is Pedro Sanchez hoping to achieve in India? Maybe more options. You see, Sanchez has invested a lot in his relationship with China. He visited China twice in the last 18 months, even tried to delay EU tariffs on Chinese vehicles. But other European Union members do not agree with this approach, so they are tightening the screws on Beijing, which is perhaps why he's turning to India. And for New Delhi, Pedro Sanchez is a key ally to have. Spain is the fastest growing major economy in Europe, plus Sanchez is emerging as a force. He has defied the EU on a number of issues. Whether it's giving tanks to Ukraine or opposing Israel or reaching out to China, Sanchez is carving out his own place in the bloc. And he can afford to do that. The likes of Macron and Olaf Scholz are facing domestic setbacks. But Pedro Sanchez is better placed at home. He's also flaunting Spain's historical ties to other parts of the world, like North Africa and Latin America, something that he did in India too.
Spain maintains privileged relations with Latin America, historic ties in the Middle East, increased presence in Africa, and is a leading voice in the European Union. This geopolitical framework offers many opportunities for our countries to reach different regions and develop closer and more productive relations.
So Spain is a good ally to have in Brussels, whether it's for free trade talks or defense deals or Indo-Pacific partnerships. It also tells you about India's long-term plans for Europe. Earlier, the engagement was limited to a few states, maybe France or Germany, but now it's much wider. This year, Prime Minister Modi visited Poland and Austria, and now the Spanish Prime Minister is visiting. So the plan is to build closer ties across the bloc. Of course, the strategy varies. With Germany, India is offering its skilled labor force. With Spain, India is offering tourism. With France, India is buying weapons. And with Poland, India is selling weapons. New Delhi realizes that Europe is looking for alternatives to China, both strategic and financial alternatives. So it is India's time to cash in.
Firstpost decodes the U.S. election. Explains how America chooses its president. Your primer on the race to the White House. Everything you need to know about how America votes and its global implications. U.S. Election Explained. Every Monday and Thursday only on Firstpost.